Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by the old, reliable Anthony Torgrud.
It's me. Yeah, I'm here. Sleepy, but I'm here.
Old was harsh, actually. I take that back.
No, I'll be 31 in 6 days. I'm trying my damnedest to grow my hair back out, but it's taking a little longer than I thought,
It'll come, mate. Don't worry. Just need to
Yeah,
stay
we'll get there.
stress-free, which is why you're here.
Yeah, exactly.
As always, before we dive into this week's episode, I want to say thank you to the Substack founding members, Derek Favretto, Merlin Flinker, Nasser, Carlo Fassi, Rajat Raul Escobar, Luke Villano, Mats, MJ Kemming, Joey Gawler, Moritz Polman, Tito Mac, Ali Tareen, and Des Windsor McGlynn. Thank you so much for all the support you're showing us over on the Substack. We really appreciate the way that that's grown over the past few months, and we are hoping to keep ramping up the coverage throughout the summer as we move from this current kind of state of flux into hopefully some signings being done, and obviously we'll get more from Fonseca when his first press conference comes and stuff like that. So be sure to check it out. You can try a week for free. Over the past week, the most recent article that went out was a bit of a deep dive into the San Siro renovation plans that have been put forward by the council and WeBuild, and how there might actually be some merits to it, given that they've had to make it feasible for the clubs, and some of the updates that they plan to do to the stadium because of how old it is, obviously, actually look pretty good. So that's worth a read. The newsletter was about the calm before the storm, as I was kind of referring to there. There's not an awful lot going on with the major tournaments underway and the lack of signings. But in that is the bulletin of all the notable news that has happened in the past week. The bonus podcast last week was about the potential second coming of a Dutch era at Milan. We talked about Tijani Reinders and his increased importance in the national team, but also some of his teammates and compatriots that could end up potentially joining, likes of Zirkzee, Mats Wiefer, Jeremy Frimpong. There are a few other names mentioned in there, so go and check that out. And we also had a bonus article on what we know about Theo Hernandez's future, given the amount of speculation that he's currently doing the rounds about bids from Bayern and blah, blah, blah. That's just sort of information that we've pieced together from what we know. So, yeah, as I say, try a week trial, see if you like it, and also that we have the Substack chat as well. So that's kind of like a preferential lane for getting your questions in and things like that. So yeah, thank you for all the support, and we're going to dive in. I'm gonna do you a solid here, as they say, and we're going to talk about the USA first.
Oh, okay.
And in particular, Christian Mate Pulisic, who
good guy.
stole the headlines with a brilliant performance against Bolivia. Now, it was at a time when I couldn't watch, but I woke up to Pulisic mania in absolute overdrive again. I'm guessing you did watch.
I did watch. Yeah.
And he did well.
Beautiful fucking goal. Yeah, it's a great goal. He probably could have had a couple more. Honestly, the whole team. This is going to sound like an exaggeration, but it should have been 6-0. I know it was only 2, but the amount of great chances that ultimately were wasted or good saves that happened, it was endless. It really very dominant performance. I mean, look, it was Bolivia. Not to put anyone down from Bolivia, but not exactly a powerhouse nation for football. So don't want to look too much into it. We still got tougher games ahead. We got Uruguay next week, I believe, and or is it this weekend? Maybe I don't know. Either Sunday or Monday, something like that. Or
that's the biggie, in it. That decides who tops the group.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it might just be a situation where we're both going into the final game 2 wins apiece, and it's already decided. So, but then again, Panama's always given the USA trouble for whatever reason. That's a bogey team for us. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think that game's on
Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's at the Mercedes-Benz. Is that the Atlanta one? Yeah, Atlanta.
Yeah.
So used to saying
stadium.
Atalanta that I can't say Atlanta.
I know.
And then Uruguay the following Monday it will be for you. Tuesday early hours,
on my
our
birthday?
time.
God damn.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. That
I
could
get an
be
L for for Christmas. Yeah.
Who knows, man? Who knows? It could be a bit of a goal difference battle, and then you go into it like with a better goal difference than them, and then just draw, and you're fine. And that's an easier equation. But yeah, Pulisic got man of the match. He was absolutely outstanding from what I gather. Again, started obviously he's the captain. That's right, isn't it? He's the captain. Yeah. His stats, which I'll read down. If you haven't already, then go and check out his goal. It's there's a funny thing in it because it's a corner that's taken short and he gets the ball back on like the left corner of the box, and he curls one right-footed in off the crossbar. Beautiful shot, brilliantly executed play. And afterwards, he was looking for the USA's set-piece coach, who is a guy called, I've forgotten his name.
Gianni.
Gianni Rio, something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to make sure that I get it right. He was looking for Gianni Vio, sorry. And the fact that if you ever need proof that it's a small world, he worked as a coach for Milan before. Some time ago, it was when Pippo Inzaghi was in charge, so 2014-15 season. But yeah, he picked him out in the crowd and pointed to him as if to say, "That one's on you. That was your invention."
Yeah.
And
and that's what he said in the post-game interview as well. They asked, like, were you looking for Gianni Vio? Like, you could see in the replay he's saying, "Where's Johnny? Where's Johnny?" And he's like, "Yeah, he drilled up a bunch of plays for us, and this was when we drilled in training a lot. So it worked out. It was our first time trying it, and something like they got a bunch of other plays for set pieces now as well. So we'll see if they're as effective or if they even pull them out. Obviously you don't want to show all your cards in the first game of the group, so probably didn't do all of them.
So
But,
Yeah, it's funny, like set pieces are becoming more and more of a talking point, like not just for Milan, who have struggled to score them and have struggled to keep them out historically, or at least it feels like that in recent seasons, but like because they can become an added value. I remember when, and this is going off on a little bit of a tangent, but Huddersfield hired a manager from a division below at one point, and everyone thought it was a good appointment, but sort of in his press conference, he was talking about how set pieces can add like 33% to your team. Because if you keep them out well and you score them, all of a sudden, it impacts both columns positively. And we ended up doing them a lot better. And I think Liverpool were the first team. Well, they probably weren't the first team, but first team of note to bring in a specialist set piece coach. And from there, it's just become a craze. Like every team seems to have one, and they certainly do add value. But and also, when does a set piece goal not become a set piece goal? So, for example, he's passed the corner, and then there's another pass, and then there's a shot. Like it wasn't directly from the cross, if you know what I mean. So like when does it become an open play goal? Like when a penalty is saved and the rebound comes out and someone scores, it's an open play goal because the penalty has been taken,
So for me, I would still consider Christian's goal open play because of that,
Yeah.
Now, maybe there could be some technicality where it's like, oh, you get 3 passes or something, but it's so subjective what you consider. And I think we all could kind of look at it and recognize that, okay, this came from the set piece, but it's not a set piece. It's like if someone takes a free kick and the free kick taker taps it, lays it off to the guy next to them, and then they shoot and score it. It's not a free kick goal, So it probably is technically an open play goal, but obviously you also recognize that it's drawn up by the set piece coach to do, in that specific situation. You're not going to be in a situation like that during a game. I mean, you might be. I've seen it a few times, but it's pretty rare. Typically, you're only in that from a set piece. So maybe like with the corner kick, it's like I don't know if possession changes, if a shot's taken and it doesn't go in and rebounds, then it's over. Or if you have to pass back through your halfway, I don't know, any arbitrary distinguisher that you want to come up with. I guess it's up to in the eyes of the beholder.
No doubt someone will come up with some kind of algorithm for it or whatever.
I'm sure there's some like rule book that I haven't read, and I'm gonna be called a jackass, and everyone's gonna get mad at me. But whatever,
part of the course, really. Yeah. His stats though from that game: a goal, and he got an assist for the second goal, following Balogun. He sort of led a counter attack down the middle and gave it to the left, and Balogun nice low shot into the far bottom corner. Not his most box office assist, but it still counts, and that got him. Sorry,
He
go on.
did have no. I was just gonna say he also had a hockey assist for Balogun's second goal, but that got called off. So,
Yes.
but
Yeah, he had 3 key passes, 2 shots on target. There was one that was a good save. He hit it fairly central, but it was, a decent stop, and that was one of his other efforts on target. 2 dribbles completed, 3 long balls completed, which surprised me, and 5 ground duels won. Bit of hustle from Il Capitano, which is good to see.
yeah, it's
And
interesting because for USA, he always, plays a bit like out of body. He always has better experiences or better. What's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, I'm still tired.
bit of
Better displays.
motivation.
Sure, something
All
like
right,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, but I think
relative,
we
yeah.
saw a lot of it at Milan this season as well.
Mm.
I think he has that fire now, and maybe it's a crowd thing. You don't really get those type of atmospheres at Chelsea or in the English stadiums, whereas
Yeah.
San Siro has a very robust atmosphere, and playing for your country, you get that too. Especially against South American teams and the Copa America, it's a rowdy crowd. So maybe that just that's the energy that he feeds off of, and we saw it a lot more with San Siro. So it'll be interesting to see if he continues that. I think he will.
Yeah, and it was hard, like, making that jump over to Dortmund as well, because Dortmund's a similar 80,000 hostile.
Hmm.
Maybe that's what helped form him in some ways. And then obviously you go to Chelsea and it's a completely different vibe, not just from an atmosphere point of view, but like how the fans treat the players and things like that. And
Hmm.
now he's come somewhere he's appreciated. And he's done a couple of good interviews around the tournament where he's like laying down a challenge rather than being like, yeah, we feel great, blah, blah, blah. He's saying, we're all demanding more from each other and we want to make a dent in this tournament, and that's good to see. Proper leadership material. Like when you think about the leaders at the Milan's currently in the Milan squad, you think of Mike, you think of Teo, but you never really think of someone like Pulisic. And then you remember he's a captain for his national team, and
Hmm.
he's one of the most talked about players in the world because of the fact that he's America's #1. So yeah, it's good to see, and I hope that it continues. That Uruguay game will be a good test for him. Yeah, maybe the Panama one, as you say. Musa came on as well and got a few minutes, I think, but didn't do much of note.
Yeah, he came on at halftime.
Oh, right.
Looked
Right.
fine. He did. It wasn't a bad performance, but there
It's
wasn't really
defending the
anything
lead at
special.
that point, though, in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Yeah. We have a couple more negative notes to talk about when it comes to international football. We'll start with Leao. He's banned for Portugal's third group stage game because he received a second yellow, a second yellow in 2 games, and it was a second yellow for simulation as well.
Yeah, which I don't think is fair. I mean, I didn't watch the
No,
first Portugal game, so I don't know if that one was a dive or not,
that
but
one was, in my opinion.
it was okay. I
Yeah,
didn't think the second one was a dive.
no, me neither.
I thought it looked very much just like a typical. I don't even know if I want to say like it wouldn't have been a yellow card the other way. It was just you get locked up, you go down. It
Hmm.
wasn't anything crazy. Obviously, you're looking for the penalty, right? Like you always are going to do that, but I don't think it was like malicious. So it was interesting. I think it was a bit of a harsh call from the referee, especially with the rule and
Hmm.
knowing what it was. But once you get the reputation, then it's over.
Yeah, after what happened in the first game, I don't think it really helped him. And also, maybe he should know a little bit better because although the replays show that there was contact, it was very small contact. It's not enough to send somebody over without a doubt. And obviously, he's looking for the penalty to get an advantage for his team. But I think maybe in that position, he potentially could have got past him anyway. So maybe you stay on your feet and you don't put yourself at risk like that. And then he got hauled off at half time as well, which was not great. He got taken off relatively early in the first game and off at half time in this. There was some talk that he'd lose his starting spot anyway. And I don't think that the way that his tournament's gone so far has helped. He hasn't done much of note. I'm not going to lay into him. I don't think that this Portugal side, and I don't think that Martinez's approach is necessarily beneficial for him. And this has me worrying a little bit about what we're going to see with Fonseca because we keep hearing about how it's going to be a possession-based style. We're going to control games by having the ball and by camping in their half and stuff like that. That isn't really Leao, you know? Leao needs open field. He needs space in transition. He needs to get one-on-one. It's brilliant for more technical wingers like Pulisic, and I think we'll benefit from having a centre forward who's a bit more mobile, and we don't know who that's going to be yet for various reasons. But I think for Leao, it could open up an interesting dilemma because I don't know about his. He has technical ability, no doubt about it. Is he a technical winger? No, in my opinion, he's an athletic winger, and he's going to show his best in space. And we might not have much of that if we're passing the ball around and we're waiting to break teams down, rather than going at them 100 mile an hour. So maybe what we're seeing with Portugal is foreshadowing a little bit, but also they're playing against deep defenses and teams that are trying to frustrate as much as possible. They were all shit in that Czech Republic game. So, he stood out as being not even the worst of a bad bunch. They were all pretty much just like a 5.5 out of 10, say. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the rest of the tournament goes for Leao because he's absolutely a weapon for any team and for his country, obviously, but in the right circumstances. And I just don't know how often those are going to present themselves. I don't know who they're dropping for. Maybe João Felix or something like that.
Maybe. I feel like if you get a player who's suspended, you play him the full 90 of the game that he's in, But I also
they were
get
winning
that you
as
don't
well.
want to risk a red card, an unnecessary one. So, and I could see Leao getting that because once he gets like kind of in an attitude, then it can go south like that. So maybe it was the right move. I don't know. That was the only reason I watched the damn game was to see Leao. So
yeah, they were poor as well.
That own goal though, that was ridiculous.
They got beat 3-0. I can't remember who they were playing. Turkey were disappointing. Yeah, because some people had them to potentially go through second, and I think that they still could, but they've not been. Çalhanoğlu, like for all the talk about him, dog shit so far. I think you're starting to see what's happening when a system isn't built around him, or rather, he has to force things a little bit more, and he's not getting his hand held. I think it's just been a bit of an eye opener.
It's much harder when the refs don't favor you, and the drug testings come in and all that stuff. But
well
hey,
said, brother.
Going to Bayern for 70 mil,
Yeah, I heard about that. Did you see that column from? I don't often agree with what he says, but Michele Crisciutiello, who is the guy from Sport Italia, the director of that. I'll try and read some of the more notable quotes that he said in this column. I thought it was interesting. He said, Inter fans are starting to understand that those who have betrayed a shirt and a fan base cannot be trusted. The player does not question himself, but Çalhanoğlu has amply demonstrated that he is a footballing infidel. Whoever betrays once also betrays a second time. The fans must understand they need to support the shirt more and less the players who think about money and their career. If it suits them, they jump under the Curva Sud, and if more money arrives from the Curva Nord, they jump under the Nord instead. Strong.
Hot take. I think that's a little dramatic.
It might be a little dramatic. The footballing infidel line was fucking brilliant, though. That's box office from him. I think there's a more nuanced point to what he's saying, and that is like, don't be surprised when the guy you signed on a free from a City rival might want to move to another club.
Yeah, but I don't think he's betraying Inter, to be honest with you. If anything, players need to know when you go to Inter that if you have a good season, there's a chance you get sold the next one. They're the ones getting rid of their players. It's not the players leaving, So I don't think it's. Look, as much as I want to hate on Çalhanoğlu, I don't think he's doing anything wrong here if he does go to Bayern. That's a big
you best
money
believe.
Move. Yeah.
You better believe that we're gonna.
He won it with Inter. That's the only reason he was there, was to get one over us. And it may have taken him 4 years and watched us get it one before him, but he got it done. So bye. Now he never cared. I don't see him as like an Inter lifer or legend or fan or anything. And I would imagine none of the fans do either. I'm sure they all hold him in high regard because, let's be real, he was pretty good there. Better for them than he was for us, and that's okay to say. And if he goes to Bayern, he might be good, he might not. I mean, But 70 mil, Inter's taking that every day. They need the money more than anyone, and they're going to sell
Mm.
someone every season. So if you could sell him for 70, then you don't have to sell someone else for 70. So yeah,
Mm.
it's not
I
him who.
I could be proven wrong by the passage of time on this, but I don't think there's a chance to get 70 million for him. He's 30 years old now.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Look, maybe he's got a few more years left in the tank, but he's got a contract until 2027. I suppose they've got a bit of leverage on that front as well, but that feels high.
Yeah,
There's
it'd
all
be
this talk, like,
45, 50.
yeah, there's all this talk about, is he the best regista in the world, or is he one of the top 5? And he said himself that he thinks he's the best, and it's like, you're not Rodri, you're still not even on like Cruz's level, or we're seeing Kimmich obviously playing a bit wider for Germany, but there are still good players in that position, and also that makes me think Inter could potentially find a good replacement. Marotta does work on that front, but yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he went back there, even though you could argue that going back to Germany might not be the best move for him, given that by the end he couldn't really wait to get out. Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. And then the other more negative note from the Euros. By the way, we got France's last game tonight, this evening in European time, and they might not win their group, which is interesting. Netherlands with a win will top the group, so I believe. So that's something to keep an eye on, because that would fuck up a load of brackets if France were not to win the group. I think it might come down to goal difference potentially.
Yeah,
But
and that's what it
Netherlands
is
have,
right now. Yeah,
France have Poland, so that should be a comfortable win. But also, on
no
the other hand,
Mbappe again, supposedly.
Netherlands have Austria. That could be a tough game
Yeah,
for them. But also, if they just match the score, then
yeah. Well, they're
they'll
both
go through.
currently tied on points and goal difference.
Yeah, and they drew 0-0 in their game.
Yeah, the difference is
So
Netherlands have 2-1, whereas France are 1-0. So,
exactly. So they effectively just have to match their scoreline
mhm.
to go through as top. And yeah, if France were to go through second, I think it'd be a bit of a blow, because obviously it's a harder path to the deep stages of the competition for them. But also, yeah, as I say, it fucks up a lot of brackets. Like, England have been thinking we're going to get France in the semis. If we get that far, I don't think we will, based on current evidence. But yeah, like there was a moment where Germany, before they equalised late on against Switzerland, were going through a second. Like, it never, when you're mapping out the wall chart before a tournament, any major tournament, World Cup included, you think, well, they'll win that group, and you think you've got it nailed until the final. But it never goes that way. There's always a couple of shocks, and
Yeah.
part of me wonders if that could be France this evening.
I'm looking at it though, and I think finishing second might actually be better for France.
Mhm.
Looking at it, they'll play uh, second place of Group E, which is a four-way tie on 3 points right now. Romania, Belgium, Slovakia, Ukraine. I
Mm.
think France beats all four of those teams
Oh
comfortably.
yeah.
If they win, they might get Portugal or Turkey. I, I don't see the other. Yeah, the other teams are. Oh, Georgia's already. Yeah, they can't get first, so it'd be Portugal.
Mm.
And I think that'd be a harder game for France. They're all winnable for France. France is one of the best teams in the world, obviously, but
Yeah.
definitely interesting to see how that plays out.
There's definitely a bit of the England about France. Like, we both went into the tournament as favourites. France for good reason, because they've won and they can definitely win again with their depth. Us less so.
Mhm.
It's more just like having informed forwards and stuff like that. But like, a lot of media pressure because they've taken 4 points from 2 games, and it's like, that's
Yeah.
not enough. We have to be perfect, and major tournaments tend to be who peaks at the right time. So
Yeah,
honestly,
that's
the
very true.
Euros has been good. I've really, really enjoyed it as a spectacle. Like, even that Croatia-Italy game to me looked like two sides who were quite poor and
Mm.
sort of lacking a bit of technical ability, lacking a bit of confidence at times. But it was chaotic in the second
Yeah.
half, and that's all you can ask for.
Um, my last point on Euros is England has all of Croatia supporting them right now, because if England beats Slovenia by 4 points, Croatia go through. So
Hmm.
they're
Oh, is that
desperate for
right?
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
We're meant to
So
be
they're
picking another
desperate
strong
right now.
team to kind of
Uh,
respond to the draw against Denmark.
mm,
Um, But yeah, I think 4-0 might be a tall order. But who knows? We hammered Wales in the last group game of
yeah.
the World Cup to put USA through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
Um, And yeah, so I haven't got to watch as much of the Euros as I have Copa America, just
Mm.
because all the games for the Euros take place when I'm at work, and very few opportunities to really look away.
Mm.
But Copa America has been brilliant so far. It's obviously still first round of the whatchamacallit, the group stage, but
Groups.
last night Brazil and
Costa
Costa
Rica,
Rica,
was it? Yeah.
it was 0-0, and it was a great fiery game. I mean, look, Brazil should have won it like by a large margin. The Costa Rican goalkeeper just phenomenal, and he's playing in Spain's third division right now. So you might see him get a big move this summer. I mean, he was so good.
It's not
And
Keylor Navas, no?
no, I
Is he
think he's
retired?
retired, isn't he?
Oh, wow.
I don't know, but yeah, it was some other guy. Um,
Hmm.
and what was I going to say? Oh, the referee, man, he just let him play. He wasn't calling
Mm.
anything. There were so many challenges that to me were clear free kicks or clear yellow cards that he just said, "Go, get up, go." And I mean, he let it play. And that's something about the Copa America that I love that you don't get in the Euros is it's such a more physical game. It's just
Yeah.
nonstop movement. There's obviously a lot of technique, but I feel like the Euros plays a lot more tactical and technical, whereas Copa America, man,
Like a
it's a
basketball game,
dogfight, and
end to
I
end.
loved it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it really
I like
was. It was a lot of fun.
South American standard of refereeing, and by standard I mean, like as you say, letting more things go, letting
Yeah.
the game be more physical. That's a much better spectacle than whistle blowing every 5
Mhm.
seconds for a little tap on the shin or whatever.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think that's a good point. I'll definitely try and tune into some of the games in the later stages.
Yeah, I
'Cause
mean,
it's always fun.
it's extra tough for you because a lot of
Yeah,
them are on the West
times.
Coast USA. So, like, even for me, they're starting at 9 p.m.
Mm,
Well, for you, I mean, you're in bed. The USA
yeah,
game on Saturday, is it, or Thursday? Starts at
Thursday.
6 p.m. for
Oh right,
me. So, I
11
mean,
p.m.
yeah, so it might be doable, might not be. I don't know
Yeah,
what your sleep's like, but
yeah.
yeah, that's
I'm normally asleep
that's
by
it.
10.
Yeah, bro, same.
Tonight
I
might be
stayed
the
up way too late
exception,
last night.
given England play at 8. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
I've got what did I say? Oh yeah, Uruguay. Got Uruguay in a predictor thing. So
to win it all.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I don't know. I just feel like there's always a bit of a rogue winner of this competition. Like Chile won it one
Yeah.
year, and
Is
um,
Suarez injured? Do you know?
uh, I don't know. He
Yeah,
might
I
just
know.
not be
Let's
playing
see.
because of
Just
Nunes.
yeah, Nunez is playing. Oh, it doesn't look like Suarez was called up, or if he
Oh,
wasn't, he's injured. I don't know.
he
Oh
might be
no, no, he
injured.
was on
Yeah.
the bench. He's on the bench.
Oh
He played
yes,
the last game.
he
I'm
came
sorry.
on. Where's
I did not see this.
Cavani?
Cavani
He might have
retired,
retired
right?
from international football.
Yeah, I think he's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, I was looking at that Uruguay team, and it's actually not as good as I thought in my head. They're playing Araujo at right back. Jose
Hmm.
Jimenez is pretty good. Caceres, Bentancur, Valverde in midfield is good. Nunes and Nat Pelestri is pretty good from what I've seen of him. Obviously he's at Man United, and yeah, it's just the left side that's a bit suspect. So I think a
Yeah,
decent team will probably target that. And they beat Bolivia 3-0 in a World Cup qualifier a little bit ago, and Bolivia played like a 5-4-1. It's so funny when international teams just don't even try. You know,
yeah.
they can make a statement, but no, fuck it, everyone behind the ball.
No, that
Fi-
is the statement. Is they didn't get smoked with 8
yeah,
goals. You know.
yeah. The final thing on the Euros, and then we'll move on to some questions. Is Noah Okafor. There's a bit of a strange thing going on with him, and by strange I mean the fact that he hasn't had a single minute in
Yeah.
the 3 group stage games that Switzerland had. They got through to the knockout stages, which is good. They finished above Hungary and Scotland, which is all they needed to do. They've been playing Ndoye, Varga, obviously. That's Vargas, not Varga, the guy who
Yeah.
did whatever, fractured his jaw. Dua and Bolo. So like they have got good forwards. Their coach Yakin plays a 3-4-2-1, and I guess it's hard for Okafor to fit in there because there's no pure wingers and they don't really play with a false 9. He's not an attacking midfielder. But he made some comments before the tournament, did Murat Yakin, where he sort of said this is word for word. Every move involves great risks. He's rarely a starter with his club, especially for a striker. It's important to play, and his limited playing time is certainly not optimal. He went on to talk about his role and how he doesn't really fit for them. But yeah, I think the warning signs were there. He's basically saying, I'm going to pick players who are playing for their club. But then also, you're a bit of a hypocrite if you say, well, a player's got quality and he should be playing more for his club, but I'm not going to play him either. You know, it's a bit of a tough one. And there've been a couple of reports that came out as well saying that we're in the market for 2 strikers. Jovic obviously is expected to renew, but that isn't official yet. Then obviously we're going to sign a new starting number 9, and there's been some talk about maybe Tammy Abraham or Morata arriving as a backup centre forward, and what that might mean for Okafor. You know, is he going to be purely a backup left winger? Because we've probably seen better things from him when he's come on and played up front. You know, might we look to cash in on him? You know, there's evaluations in progress, is what Gazzetta said. But it's been a strange 2 weeks for him after what I thought was a pretty positive season, really, with us. I hope he stays for what it's worth. I think he can certainly do a job at least as a backup striker and left winger.
I really like Okafor. I think he was one of the signings that I was most excited for last summer. Obviously, he's not a starter, and we didn't think he would be a starter over Leao. I thought he'd definitely become a starter over Giroud. Didn't pan out that way. I think Pioli was set on him being a winger instead. So it'll be interesting to see what Fonseca does with him. Maybe he does play him as the striker. Probably not, though, if we're looking for 2 of them this summer. And with Jovic renewing, it'll be interesting to see how much time he gets. I'd hate to see him go out on loan or, stall his career because he is still young and he's talented. I want him to stay. I want him to grow. I want him to do good and become something with us. But also, if it's at the detriment of his career, then hopefully he can find a home somewhere.
Yeah, and we didn't pay because of his contract situation at Salzburg. We didn't pay a bomb for him. I think it was in the 14 million range, so we could probably make our money back at the very least. And also, when he skinned Kalulu for that goal in the Champions League, he was a 21-year-old player, and now he's 24. Sorry, he was 22, and now he's 24. So it's like, okay, the prime's approaching now, and he does need starts. I do think his national team coach is kind of right on that front. Like, to be in your free-flowing best, especially as a forward, you do need to be playing more than what he did. But injuries played a part in that, and obviously, he knew what he was joining. He knew he wasn't going to get the number 9 shirt, for example. But I would also like to see him stay. I don't think we need to go out and spend 25 mil on Tammy Abraham when we've got someone who scored more last season already here. Let's talk through some players quickly before we address questions. The Abraham is a link. How do you feel about that? He barely played last season due to a pretty serious injury, but then he came back and he struggled a bit at first, but then he kind of looked decent again.
Yeah, he looked
by
good.
The end.
So I'm just gonna say I don't want to sign Tammy Abraham. I think we need to look for someone who's going to be the clear starter for the foreseeable future. If Zirkzee is that guy, great. I don't know if Zirkzee will be, but I think that's the route we want to go. And then I think we just said, we already have Okafor, we have Jovic. I don't see a world where there's room for Tammy. Is Tammy better than Jovic? Yeah, of course. But Jovic is already renewed. So I don't see what we'd be doing. I think there's other positions that need to be reinforced at a price that Tammy would cost us,
Yeah.
So if we're getting Zirkzee as the main guy, then I don't need Tammy additionally.
I think I don't see us signing Abraham. I think it's a non-starter because Roma are still going to want a decent fee for him, especially if they're selling to a domestic rival. Transfermarkt still have his valuation at 30 million euros, even despite the fact that he only played 12 times last season and scored 1 goal. So there's a bit of something in there, I suppose. He's only 26, so you could argue his best years are yet to come. Also, I just think a move back to the Premier League makes too much sense for him because they have clubs there, even like a West Ham or something.
I was going to say an Everton or a Newcastle.
Yeah. A team that's looking for a number 9 to come in and challenge, or maybe to be a backup. In the Premier League, they have no problems paying 30 million for a backup striker, as we've seen with Everton and Beto and stuff like that. But for us, I think we have a budget, but if we're spending 30 mil on a striker, it should be going towards the starter,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're okay behind. However, playing devil's advocate, and this is where I come in with the next name that's been mentioned, and by Milan News, so a fairly reputable source, Alvaro Morata. He's available for 12 million, and again would be a backup. He's 31 now. He's Spain's captain, and he's still scoring goals. And he wants to leave Atletico Madrid. Obviously, he knows Serie A well because he's been with Juventus in 2 separate stints. You could argue he probably played the best in his career while he was at Juventus. And last season he got 21 goals, 5 assists. So those are
that's
numbers.
really good return, but I'll just be upfront. I don't like Morata.
No.
I really dislike him. And it has nothing to do
As a
with
bloke.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know him personally. I don't know his personality, but like I don't like the idea of Morata. I don't like the career path he's had. Every time we've been linked to him, I've said no, thank you. I can't believe we're being linked to him another time. It's just no.
Yeah, the issue is wages, as well. Like you can get him for 12 mil, but I think he earns like 8 mil net, so you're not going to pay him more than Leao, are you? However, controversial opinion: if he were a backup, I'd take him because I think we're going to lose a lot of experience and a lot of goals on your resume are like the currency above all. And he's won things, and he scored in Serie A, and he scored 21 last season in a Simeone system. I think he would be a very useful backup, and also probably tactically a better fit than, say, a Jovic, who we've seen tends to do better alongside someone. However, I think the costs of the operation will be too high. I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of them who ends up in Saudi, for example.
I guess he's Saudi. I could even see Inter.
Yeah. Or back at Juve, but like I don't. They have been linked, but I don't know who they'd have to sell to make that happen, kind of thing. Maybe
How do you
Chiesa.
convince a fan base to sign a striker for the third time to pay for the same striker?
Yeah.
Well, I guess the first time was a loan, right?
Yes. Yeah. In that first spell,
no.
I saw.
They both were loans, but they paid for him. They made the first one up permanent, something like that.
I think the first one was a loan with option.
And they activated it, and the second one was a dry loan.
Yeah, something like that. It wasn't as straightforward as them signing him permanently twice, I saw him score the winner against us in a cup final in like 2017-ish as well. A game where we played really well and deserved to win, so fuck him. But also, goals. We need goals. We need to replace Giroud's goals, and I think someone who... If you're going to put a load of pressure on Zirkzee by giving him the number 9 shirt and whatnot, I don't think it hurts to have someone like Morata in the background who can just come in and, bang a couple here and there. And anyway, probably just a load of fucking white noise as per usual. What's been going on with the rumours? The latest thing that we had, and this is on the exclusive section of the website. Guirassy is pretty much a non-starter because Dortmund are close to getting that deal done, and also because his release clause is 17.5 mil, his agent's asking for a lot of commissions. We know how this one goes. The name that came out, it was firstly from Sky, but we've had confirmation on it, is Medin Demirovic, who got 15 goals, 10 assists in the league for Augsburg last season. He's meant to be a bit like Dzeko. He's also Bosnian, and he's good for his hold-up play. He's good in the air, blah, blah, blah. Apparently, Fonseca likes him. That's what we've heard. Likes the idea of him. And then there's also Jonathan David, who remains in the background. Wouldn't be surprised if things come full circle with him, given that he seems to be struggling to find a club, even though Chelsea have been linked. It's a carousel. It's a circus. It's a saga. It's a soap opera, whatever you want to call it. So many names being linked. And we're no closer to knowing who the striker's going to be. I think the Euros is holding a bit of stuff up, but there's also teams doing business. So we do need to get a move on a little bit. What about Calafiori? Do you think we should be in for him?
I don't think we could afford him at the moment. I think he's the shiny new toy. Everyone's interested. Everyone wants him. We obviously were linked in the past, and hindsight's 2020. But
tried to loan him from Basel.
Yeah. He's fantastic, but I could have sworn he was going to Juve.
Yeah, this is the thing. You say we can't afford him, but if Juve can, then we can.
I mean,
You
yeah,
know,
I guess that's true.
but
But
it's
I
the
feel
Motta
like,
thing.
yeah, I
There's
feel
the
like we
Motta thing.
wouldn't pay 40 mil for a center back.
I
I
also
think
think
that
there's
would
a
be
bit of.
nice if we did 40 mil striker, 40 mil defensive mid, 40 mil center back,
Mm.
call it a day at 120. Like
Is that
that would
not
be
what we
good.
need though? Like
Yeah,
guaranteed upgrades in the starting lineup in each
100%,
position. So there's all this. We're trying to
100%.
find value with the defensive midfielder by getting Fofana for 20 mil, but actually, is he more of an 8? Should we be paying up for Vifa? Should we be paying up for I don't know, some of the other names that we've been linked with? Should we have gone in for Douglas Luiz, for example? And you start to question the centre back. Are we going to sign somebody from Liga or the Bundesliga that's a bit of a risk and takes more time to adapt? Or should we just be ponying up for Bongiorno or for Calafiori and putting him in the back line and knowing that you're guaranteed a certain level?
Mhm.
I also think there's a bit of principle in it. I feel like Moncada, he's the one who discovered him and tried to sign him last summer, and now he's not going to go back and be like, well, here's 10 times what we were going to offer last year, because like it almost looks like an admission of failure. Or
Mm.
I don't know, I just think there's a little bit of it feels like it would be ironic,
Yeah.
basically, if we
Did we
decided to go.
fail to sign him, or did we opt to go with
We
Bartosagi
signed
instead?
Pellegrino instead.
Mm.
Because I think that the story was at the time is that he'd played mostly as a left back for Basel,
Yeah.
but we saw him as someone who could play centre back, left back, and then we ended up signing Pellegrino instead obviously from that club in Argentina for pretty much the same reason. He was unlucky, the injury. He went out on loan, and at least he's playing top flight. And who knows, he might turn into something, but he might also be another Rodrigo,
Mhm.
Eli. Whereas Calafiori was part of a team that got into the Champions League. He looks like one of Italy's best players. He's tidy and composed on the ball. I would like to see us go in for him. We need a left-sided defender. However, for the
Yeah.
right price, you can't be paying the Euros surcharge, which is what it's probably now going to be. But yeah, as I say, if Juve can afford him and they can afford Coop Miners and players like that, what the fuck are we doing? Are we
Yeah.
really going to 20 mil our way to having
I think we
8 more
will.
signings?
I think
It's our
that's exactly
sweet
what we're
spot.
gonna do. Yeah.
It's our sweet spot. I think that's the argument that you can make.
But I do
Also,
think it's
Emerson.
realistic to
Sorry.
ask for higher value signings. It's and don't get me wrong, like I don't sign someone for 70 mil just because you can. Like that's not the right way to go about it. But it is getting to a point now to where our base is set, and now you shouldn't be looking to sign backups, right? You should look to
Mm,
sign competition for the starting spot, and to do that, you have to find people that are roughly the same value or greater. And
mhm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with multiple 40 mil signings or multiple 30 mil signings, and just signing a few less players. You don't every summer doesn't have to be seven new signings. It could
Yeah.
be three good signings to build on the foundation, which in its own right is an admission of you got it right the previous years. Like, okay, we don't need seven more players to complete the squad. We just need three, and three good players, and that's it. And then if we get that, it's like, okay, we do have a project. We recognize the path it's taking, the success that it's building, and the project that or the play style that the coach wants to bring. And I think that's a good thing. So I would, pony at 40 mil for anyone we think is worth the 40 mil. It doesn't have to be Calafiori. But anyone in those three positions that we need desperately, I think that's the right price range to be looking for.
Yeah. I think there are almost two black and white ways that you can go about a summer transfer window. So every team goes into a summer with needs that they want to address. And for us, they're pretty obvious,
Hmm.
Centre back, full back, apparently, defensive midfielder, striker. And you can either go out and be aggressive and get your business done early, and
Hmm.
you will probably overpay in the process because you're going to pay a bit above the market rate because you want to rush the deal over the line. Or you can do what we seem to do, which is to kind of to probe various tables at the same time, play on various tables at the same time, and almost sit back and wait for the right opportunity based on,
Hmm.
I guess, a cost-based analysis, price quantity ratio, whatever you want to call it, Moneyball, some would call it. And I feel like this is the summer where we need to kind of do the opposite. We need to go out and, like, if we'd got Zirkzee in before July, amazing. That's a great start. 40 mil plus a bit of commissions. That's good value. We move on and we can focus on the other roles. It's not that simple. I know that there's caveats to every single negotiation, but it's like, you can go out and you get Fofana before the Euros or somebody for that position, Vifa, who's not at the Euros. And then maybe you can evaluate an opportunity like Højbjerg in August, 1 year left on his deal with Spurs, apparently wants to come to Italy. You can get him for 10 mil. And it's like, brilliant. Our midfielders now got 2 defensive midfielders who are of quality. And I just feel like, but hey, we're not sporting directors, are we? So I bet it's a very fucking difficult job as well, because you're trying to sort out loans for players. You're trying to get rid of the players like Origi and Balotore of high salaries that we don't need anymore. And it is difficult, don't get me wrong, but I just think this was the summer to potentially do business early. And that's not, because last summer we did quite a bit of early business too, but the needs were far greater last summer in terms of amount of players. We signed 10 players.
The other thing with the Euro window is if you get it done early, you might get lucky and avoid that Euro surcharge. You could sign a breakthrough player before they break through. Now you look like a genius. If you wait and do it late and the players you want had a good Euros, then okay, cool. It's proof of concept that this was a good player, but now you got to tack on that extra 10, 15 mil. So, it's a double-edged sword no matter which way you go about it. And I feel like players are most expensive at the start of the window or at the very end. Especially if it's a player who is improving you and doesn't need to leave their club. If they want away and they just haven't found any suitors and come in at the last minute, then okay, you'll get a cut price deal. But if it's someone who's strong, who's good, who the club likely wants to hold on to, like say a Calafiori, and we come in on deadline day, then be like, we don't have time to replace him. Give us 70 mil now.
Fucking Taremi like that. Like, that's the criticism, isn't it? I'll throw in this question now. We got it from Darren Torres in the Substack chat. Are the management too slow at getting deals through? They often allow other clubs to sneak in. And I think there's a point to that. We're linked with Brassier from Brest, and then he ends up going to Marseille to work with De Zerbi. Other profiles have already vanished, basically, as well. Like, apparently Brighton are now on pull to sign Vifa. And you look at last summer as well, when we spent the entire summer looking for a reliable striker to alternate with Giroud. And what ended up happening was Jovic on a free on deadline day. Now, we didn't do too bad, but we waited until the last 48 hours of the window to push for Taremi, who's been Porto's top scorer for the last 4 seasons. And they basically made it clear they were willing to keep him for the final year of his contract because his goals were that important. We decided to wait till then to lay down the gauntlet. Like, that didn't... And now he's going to Inter, so... on a free.
Yeah, I agree.
So
it's silly, and that's the downside to doing the multiple probe thing is eventually you're going to be like, how much this guy? Okay, cool. How much this guy? Okay, cool. How much is this guy? And then once you have 10 options in front of you, you say, well, who could I negotiate a little bit on? And as you're spending that time, other clubs are saying, that's our guy. Let's go get him. And then slowly those 10 players become 6, become 4, become 3, become 1. And you have a week left in the window and you go, hey, we need a lot of money for this. And then they say, because at the same vein, they're looking for a replacement. And they go, well, we can't replace him because the 9 other strikers on the market just got bought. So now you got to pay a shit ton or we keep him. And that's what happened with Taremi. And hopefully it doesn't happen again this summer. But I don't even think that the striker market right now is that good, to be honest with you. I think Zirkzee will do well, but it's not like... I don't see Zirkzee as the guy that's going to revolutionize our attack for the next decade. I'll put it that way. I think he's good. It'll be a huge, clear upgrade for us, and we need him. But as far as like strikers go, he's not your goal machine that people might think he is. He's lower numbers, higher assist and chance creation, which is fine. That's good. We need that as well because our best players are our wingers, and if he could benefit them, then obviously that benefits us. But keep in mind I don't know. I have a striking hunch that we'll get him, and then 3 years in, we'll start looking for another person.
Yeah, I mean the counter argument on the Zirkzee thing is obviously how young he is. There's people saying he's kind of following Zlatan's
trajectory.
Trajectory in the sense that Zlatan wasn't really a pure goal scorer at the start of his career either, and then he developed into one. But like the season before last, 22-23, he scored 2 goals in 19 games, and last season he scored 11 in 34. So is there a suggestion that with better teammates and another year of experience under his belt, he could turn that into 22, or maybe like he's on that path basically, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. He plays too far away from the area generally to be that 25, 30 goal guy. Like that perfect would be someone like Lautaro. Like we need to find our next Lautaro, who could be Jimenez at Feyenoord. I've seen stuff from him where I think, scrappy little fucker like him, he'd be good. But it's interesting. It might still end up being, and I know we say this quite often, it might still end up being a name that hasn't come out yet. There's new names coming out all the time, but as you said about the striker market being weak, or rather the opportunities don't seem so obvious. When you've got a name like Demirovic from Augsburg coming out, you're like, whoa, what are we doing here, kind of thing. I'd rather just throw 40-50 mil at Scamacca and be done with it, not literally, that was a bit of exaggeration. Nutella Nino asks, bit of a follow-on. At what point do we accept we are losing out on the Zirkzee deal? I want to kind of twist that and say, should we set a deadline for him to make a decision? There's a report saying that Bologna have asked for a decision by the end of the week because they want to start planning for the future and they need to know if they need to replace him. So
And that's fair. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, luckily for us, Bologna doesn't have the power to dictate that because they have a release clause until August, right?
Mid-August,
Yeah, so we could take as long as we want on that one. But if this was another deal, another club could make those demands and stick to their guns on it, and say, hey, we gave you a week. You decided to twiddle your thumbs and look at other profiles and make up your mind. And we need to move on with our life. So we're going to not sell him anymore, or we're going to charge a surcharge, So Bologna doesn't get that luxury because he's got the release clause, but absolutely that's fair of them to say, hey, look, guys, we need to play. Because remember, Bologna just lost their manager. So they got to work in a new system with the new manager. They're going to lose some players. We know that. Calafiori might go. Zirkzee might go. Like, they have a total rebuild ahead of them in a Champions League season. They have a lot of work to do. And
early hot take, Bologna bottom half next season.
Oh, I don't even think it's that hot. I think you're probably right. If they get gutted the way everyone's hounding them, everyone said the same about Leverkusen, and it doesn't look like anyone's leaving. So,
yeah. If anything, they're building. Like they're making some good signing. I'm surprised. This is totally random, but my mind just wandered there. I'm surprised we haven't been linked with that Lenny Yoro guy. The centre back at Lille, because he's been linked with like Real Madrid and some top. But he looks really, really good. Like very, very good young talent. I just think, well, if all those are kind of interested but not really, could we be in that row of teams that just goes in and says, well, we need a new starting centre back. We like you, Lille. We'll leave David alone. Here's 40 mil. Let's shake hands, and we've got a centre back for the next 5-10 years.
Well, and if he's that good, Fonseca's probably saying like, "Yeah, this guy's nice."
Yeah. And he said, "Don't go for David." By the sounds of it, which is mad because he's a 20+ scorer for him 2 years in a row. We'll leave it there. Got a few questions that are along the same vein of striker signings that we need and whatnot. Hope you're enjoying these episodes, guys. There's not a lot of movement. We're stuck in sort of the abyss at the moment. Tournament football's going on, which we will obviously keep talking about, but no signings have arrived. We've had confirmation that the first day of pre-season, the Raduno, as they call it, will be July the 8th. So that's a Monday, a week after your birthday. And that will be when Paulo Fonseca's first press conference will be. So we'll do a breakdown on that, obviously. And there'll be a bonus episode later this week. Next week, we're hoping to bring on a very special guest, in my eyes. More details on that to come via the questions tweet or whatever, but we just need to lock that in first of all. So it won't just be us two rambling at each other for an hour. We'll have some genuine insight, hopefully, all being well. And yeah, in the meantime, hope you're enjoying the summer, enjoying the tournaments, and yeah, I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. Find me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. AJ, cheers for joining.
Yep. See you guys. When will I see you guys? I don't know.
later in the week on the bonus podcast, and then a week today.
Next time I see you guys, I'll be even older. So wish me a happy birthday this week. Don't be rude.
He's 28 until he's 29. That's how it works.
Exactly. God damn it.
See you later, everyone. Have a good week.
Gol! Ancora Teo! È una meraviglia! Il gol di Teo Hernandez da un'area all'altra! È una meraviglia! Senti il mio cuore!